I very much wanted to be the guy who, when you see him, before he opens his mouth, you know that that's the guy who's going to listen. In fact, that is the guy who is listening. And honest to God, it's compelling when you can see somebody like that. You're a countryman, Daniel Day-Lewis is probably in my kind of listening Hall of Fame. When you see him in the frame and he's listening, it looks like there's no other message on the planet that he could possibly be receiving more profoundly than from who's ever talking to, or whatever is talking to him. And he's kind of a shining example of what I'm talking about. Prior to my role on Scrubs, where I don't listen as much as I rant, this listening that I've been going on about had kind of resulted in people, everyday, normal people, mistaking me for someone that they had, in fact, spoken to. This gets tricky, because nobody knew who I was. I was the third guy on the right. I was the leading man's assistant. You know, I was that guy. I was the guy who listened. But I came across more people who insisted that at one point or another, we'd had a desperately confidential conversation. We had. I'll give you 3 examples that come to mind. One time, before you ever do a film, you have to go and have a physical for insurance policies. And it's usually just the doctor, it couldn't be more superficial. It's how do you feel, you know, be on your way. So I was talking to one doctor down in Greenwich Village. I can't remember his name, but you know, it was getting a little too detailed for a film physical, which I'd been through a plethora of them, and now this was getting where, you know, he was actually, you know, taking the blood pressure and doing the whole thing. He said, you know, Bruce, I saw my chart. It was right the hell next to him, and he said, Bruce, it was so fun when we played those 18 holes of golf. Was it last autumn? Sorry, Doctor. My name's John. I don't remember us playing golf. Come on. It was so funny. For 15 minutes, he told me what we talked about. It was great. We both agreed that the autumn was our favorite time of year. I said, I gotta put my pants back on. This physical is over, man. I never saw that doctor again. It kind of went our separate ways. Another time, I was going down to the Jersey Shore from Manhattan, which is only about, it's equidistant from here down to Wicklow Town. And so, you know, it's about an hour or so down there. And you take a series of turnpikes and parkways, and there's always a toll system throughout New Jersey. And I didn't have the correct change, so I couldn't throw it in the bucket and keep going. So I had to, and we didn't have the thing that scans the speed pass. And so I had to go over to the correct change, don't have correct change limit. And I pulled in there, and the toll booth attendant, he did a double take, and he said, Steve! I think there's a pattern starting to happen here. And he said, how are you? And I'm like, I'm not Steve. But I'm great. I'm going down the Jersey Shore. I can't wait. It's great. I've got the water warm by now, so I can't wait to get down there. And he said, oh, Steve. It was so great when you and my sister Beth, back in high school. You guys are a great couple. I didn't date your sister Beth. He said, yes, you did. And when you broke up, you broke her heart. Dude, I gotta go! He said, okay, well, Steve, if you can live with yourself, you can just remain great in that lie that you hurt Beth. You hurt Beth. And finally, during this period, I remember it being a stunted relationship period with the girls that I would meet, because invariably, they'd want to listen. And so I became known in whatever circle I was running in as the guy who you could just go, boy, you can go talk to him. Well, I want to do a little more than talk. I want to, you know, do some stuff. And so you know, there's some girls, I remember they tell their friends, when I'm done, come over and talk to me, because it's great. You can leave it all behind. It's great. And invariably, it would always end with, thanks for listening, and, you know, maybe a kiss on the cheek. Fucking kiss on the cheek. Just turn your shit for the last 3 hours. One time this girl, Beth Ralston, had her mother call me from upstate Buffalo, and I'm like, Mrs. Ralston? And she starts to report she was going through a divorce, and she wanted to talk to somebody about her divorce. I gotta reevaluate this whole listening thing. So, cut to about 6 years later, 6 years from ago, rather, through either some cosmic harmony or through some natural design. I was 2 years into Scrubs, and my agent got a phone call from a publisher in New York, and they wanted to talk to me about writing a book. And the book proposal, the book was called The Untalkative Bunny, How to Be Heard Without Saying a Word. And so I was intrigued, and I wanted to find out, you know, what is the Untalkative Bunny, How to Be Heard Without Saying a Word. And it turns out that the Untalkative Bunny is an animated character, a cartoon, who by virtue of not being able to speak, has to mine and come up with an infinite different number of ways to communicate non-verbally. And so that was, as from what I've just been sharing with you, that resonated with me in no small way. And so I flew to New York, I was intrigued, and I took, about a half a dozen meetings with this publisher, and this book started to take shape in my mind. And it turned out what they were really looking for, they wanted to take this untalkative bunny, who's this kind of very friendly, self-deprecating cartoon character, and they wanted to make him a branded character. And I would find out that a branded character is like somebody like Snoopy, or Bart Simpson, or Elmo, or any of these, you know, characters we know who sometimes take their out of their cartoons. Or Elmo goes away from Sesame Street, and they go on adventures and they do things. And in the case of the Untalkative Bunny, they wanted him to be this character who would be our guide through a series of different self-help books. I thought that was very flattering, but I was wondering the same thing that you absolutely must be wondering right now. Why John C. McGinley? I mean, God Almighty, the publisher who I was talking to was not aware of any of the things that I just shared with you about this 10-year-old who was going to listen, about this guy who wanted to become an actor to listen. He didn't know any of this stuff. There's no reason or way that the guy could, the publisher of this company. And so my ego in check, I said, why do you want me to write this book? And he said, because the majority of our staff feels that when they're watching you, this is a direct quote, whether you're advocating for special needs and children with Down syndrome. My son Max was born with Down syndrome, and so I do a lot of work on talk shows and trying to elevate awareness and celebrate our similarities and not the differences of kids with special needs. And he said, whether or not we're watching you advocate for kids with special needs, or on TV, or on Scrubs, or in a film, he said that the consensus of the staff is that you would listen to them. And at the end of the conversation, they felt like they would be heard.